even though they were denied a penalty, United still should have not had to rely on the penalty, and they created enough to score in this game.
The United have I think they've got third best chance created statistics in the first two games and scored once. Brighton have scored 8.
Yes.
And they've got, I think, 0.3 more than them or something like that. The problem is the same as last season, is in front of goal. Because this game is a prime example of, if you don't take the lead, a team will go and get a goal and then you end up behind and you end up chasing the game, which is exactly what this game happened. United should have been 2-0 up at half time, based on that. Bruno missed an absolute sitter.
Yeah, that was awful.
Rashford it wasn't a Bruno sitter, but it was, simple chances that they're missing. They could have been 2-3-0 up and then the game would have been out of sight. But what happened was, I wouldn't smash and grab's harsh to say, but it was, close enough. Then the game just completely started opening up and then they lost 2-0 because they should have already took the lead. So it's a lot better than the Wolves' performance was horrendous. For 90 minutes, they were poor. But for 45, I felt for the first half, you could see where they were going with it. And it made you think this setup that he's going with will work. And I think it will work eventually. But what they need to be able to do for 90 minutes, if they're going to play with Mount, Bruno and Casemiro in midfield, is keep the pissing ball. Pass the ball. Don't pass, some of the passes are that loose and just crap that it just completely ruins any flow. And then Casemiro ends up isolated on his own, and he can't do it on his own. He's 32. What is he? 31 years old. He's not a type of midfielder who's nimble enough to go from left to right like Kante would do in his prime. So he's not going to be able to do it on his own. So if you're losing the ball and then positions, whereas way City do it, or City will lose the ball and then Rodri could be on his own and he'd be fine because they'll press and they'll win it back and they won't lose the ball through passing because they're perfectly good at it. It's to me, people throw the dummies out and they'll strop and then they'll, United fans will argue, it's not working, you need to change it up. I don't think he needs to change that much, personally. I just think the players need to learn how to play simple football, to be honest, to start with. How to pass the bloody ball, and then also the whole positioning situation. Stop chopping and changing it and leave, instead of moving Rashford to 9, put him in his best position in his left wing.
Well, we'll touch on that later. Just before we do, it was definitely. I know it's fair enough for you to be down about it because you obviously lost, but there were some positives in the early stages.
Oh, definitely,
because it was a better performance than Wolves, that's for sure.
The one thing I feel I can see from the first two games is their pressing in the final third is I think is very, very good. They're very good at making teams rush and making them give it away, forcing them into errors, but they need to capitalise on it. That's the big issue. If they did it against Wolves, I think the stat came up in the first 40 minutes, which was in Wolves' third, they overturned possession 9 times, which is crazy to United. Any other game they'd be 4-0 up. Simply, and they'd be battered them. That's what they need to do. They need to start battering teams when they've got all this pressure and not letting teams give them a sniff.
Yeah, definitely. So if I was a United fan, I wouldn't be overly concerned about the offensive side of things because if the goals will come if you keep creating chances. That's fine.
As soon as I honestly think, as soon as Højlund comes in and you've got an actual striker who's quite, a built striker who's going to bully centre backs, and then Rashford can finally get back to his best position, I'm quite confident that the goals will start flowing. As soon as a couple start going in, I think it'll be fine. The only issue is when it doesn't go right. When it doesn't, it's the same. I feel like I'm repeating myself from last season. When it doesn't go right, it goes terrible, and that's the issue. They're not going to be perfect at 90 minutes every match, but when it goes a little bit wrong, it seems to just go completely wrong. It seems like the whole plan's out the window. Players end up all the way out of position. Players aren't marking who they should be, and they look crap. They look like they should be relegated, and I just don't get how it can go from one to the other. Yeah, and if I was a United fan,
as you've just correctly put there, wouldn't be concerned about the offensive display. The defensive display, however, and in particular in terms of defending against counterattacks and transitions, it was an issue against Wolves. And even though they played better against Spurs than against Wolves, it was still a massive issue from what I saw.
Because it all comes from the just losing the ball in the final third. Like you when you're playing with that midfield, there's gonna be space behind, and that's just how it is. But you should be, when you're in that position, if you're going to turn over possession, you should be winning it back straight away. But teams are just stretching play, and then they're all out of position. You've got Casemiro on his own, and then your fullbacks are pushing up, and then they're not moving it quick enough, and then they're losing the ball, and then they're just getting. It's like watching a cup game after the 85th minute. Yeah, in like the 60th minute, and it's just like no. I feel like you just need to settle down a bit. Like doing it from minute one and pushing teams back is great, but I think Ten Hag needs to put the reins on Mount a little bit and just be like, or Bruno, either or, pull them back a bit. You know, they're playing like 5 in attack on the defensive line, which is cool, but bring one back a bit. Because I think it kind of happened against Spurs the way it did against Wolves. As soon as Eriksen came on, he sat a bit deeper. Teams were the counter just stopped. It broke it completely because there's just that one extra man. And I feel like they just need to pull one back a bit.
Yeah, and or definitely because it was too easy for Spurs to go through the middle. Like I remember, like a Madison run in particular, where he just got past Mount too easily.
Most of that though just came to me like he was just shite tackling. Like they've never tackled in their life before. Like half the time it's just like they stick a foot out. Oh well. And it's just like, come on, win it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's too easy to go through the middle. Casemiro is too static and not mobile enough. He needs support. But also, like the wings are also a massive issue. It was happening over and over and over again. The fullback, whether it was Dalot or Luke Shaw. I mean, Luke Shaw, like in the first half in particular, got caught out a couple of times stepping up for some reason. But it kept happening over and over again where the fullbacks found themselves one-on-one with the Spurs winger, so whether it was Kulusevski or Son, and then their fullback would overlap, so then it's a 2-on-1. So that the wing support from Antony and Garnacho is just basically non-existent.
That's the issue, isn't it? Like they're coming so deep to collect it to attack, and they're not getting back to do the defensive duties.
Yeah, which is unacceptable. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. You know, don't run back to go and get the ball to attack, but they don't come back to defend. And you've got to do both.
And for the first goal, like I feel like Garnacho should. I don't know whose fault it is really, Shaw or Garnacho, but there's a miscommunication there. I think like Shaw basically tells Garnacho, you go out to him, try to stop the cross. Yeah. He doesn't stop the cross, and he gets into a really dangerous area, Kulusevski, and then Sar's able to pop it in.
You see, a lot of it is like a communication issue, because I saw Shaw was getting a lot of stick from fans on Twitter blaming him, and it's like Garnacho isn't there. You know, this is the whole point. Like they're attacking, they're getting bodies in the box. Garnacho should be going to the man.
Yeah,
really. But I just feel like it's like deja vu from last season. Not as bad as last season, but it's just like deja vu in terms of like there's the ideas there, but they all seem to need to get on the same wavelength.
Yeah, the execution's not there, and they're as it stands, United are too easy to play. Excuse me, they're too easy to play through, whether it's in the middle or
they're lucky they haven't played a team with fast attackers yet. Because if they played against Newcastle, they'd be slaughtered. Just for example, with the legs, they'd be absolutely slaughtered. They just need to start with the basics and put the players in their positions. I think, you know, Shaw and Rashford were brilliant last season together. Don't move Rashford, just leave him there.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the positions now then, shall we? Because we were just talking earlier about how, you know, Foden, you know, as City being used in what we deem his best position. We're seeing the fruits of it. By playing, so Rashford isn't a striker. We both agree on that. We've talked about why we don't think
even he agrees on that.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to be a striker, as far as we're aware.
He's not a striker.
So if you play Rashford in the middle, you basically that's a bad position. Basically,
playing Rashford in the middle isn't just you've got someone who isn't built to be a number 9. Like he's not. He's too direct to be a 9, and he's not good enough at like the ball at his feet, close around him. Like Jackson is for Chelsea. He's a similar build, but he's quite good at full pace at keeping the ball, you know, close to his feet. Rashford's not as good at that as him, if I'm not doing that type of role for the centre. So you lose that target man aspect, and you don't have someone who's the false 9 aspect. When you move him, you end up not having someone in left wing, because Garnacho isn't ready to start playing 90 minutes every week. No. He's not. He's miles off it. He needs to come off the bench for a season.
Like Palestri. Again.
Yeah, they're not good enough. Palestri is the only winger who can actually go past a man. I actually think that Garnacho and Anthony both had their opportunities to go past players, and neither of them got past one, and Pellistri did.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to start doing. They need to get past people. If you're going to it's going to be pointless having Højlund up front if they're not going to get past a man and put the ball in the penalty spot. Mm-hmm. It's going to be absolutely pointless. But that's what they need to do, rather than go and do a little fancy step over and pass it back. It's not going to work. Got to put it in the box.
Yeah, and by playing Rashford striker and Garnacho left wing, you're basically spiting two positions, because we've just established that, Garnacho shouldn't be starting left wing, Rashford should be starting striker.
Exactly. Like, I hope to see against Forest, if Højlund will be on the bench, I think, from what I've read, he should be fit. Start Martial because he's fit. He's going to get injured, so you might as well play him while he's fit before he gets injured. So put him up front and put Rashford back on the left.
Yeah, or if that's not an option, it doesn't really matter who you play in the middle, as long as you play Rashford on the left.
Sancho had a decent pre-season at number 9. Put him back up there.
But
as long as Rashford's on that left, where your best player is his best position, don't touch him.
Yeah.
Just leave him there. And same with Bruno as well. I understand, right? Bruno did play 10 and they started moving him to the right-hand side and putting Mount there and figuring it out. Fine. But look, it doesn't work. Because Bruno, again, it's exactly the same as the Foden situation. He's too good. Okay, he didn't have a great game, but full well, you'll know it with De Bruyne and you'll know it with Foden. They have that one bit of magic. That one pass will come off.
Yeah.
We're capable of it. Putting him out wide, stood there, he ain't going to do that.
It's just a waste.
It's a waste.
And in a roundabout way, there are options here in this United squad. Ten Hag didn't have to play Rashford, he didn't have to play Rashford in the middle.
That's what I'm
he
saying.
Had to play Bruno out wide.
Exactly. Like, all he had to do when he realized when Rashford was struggling was put Rashford on the left, bring Martial up front, and then Pellistri for Anthony. But I can't remember who he brought on for him. I think Eriksen came on for Anthony, and he put Bruno out there, and then that didn't work, so he put Mount out there, and it's like, it's not going to work.
And he's got to take
if a wing, exactly. If a winger hasn't worked, that type of player isn't going to work. So exactly. So he has to take the flak there, because I get it. You're trying things, but they're not going to work.
No,
you need to they haven't even got plan A done yet. So don't start throwing plan B and C in.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, and I don't know if I'd be saying this, maybe it was a mistake selling Fred, because you said before that Casemiro needs some sort of support.
I put it this way: it would not surprise me the way that United is run that Amrabat should have been coming when Fred was sold. They've took that long to sell Fred, and they haven't even got Amrabat in yet, and he might be going to Liverpool. So that does not surprise me.
Yeah,
because it would that's what he needs. Casemiro needs that type of player next to him.
Yeah, and I know he's not. It seems like Ten Hag wants him out, but you've got him. You might as well use him. McTominay, again, even he might be an option to start with Casemiro, just to make it less easy to. And it means
McTominay's not playing 6 where he's horrendous. So
yeah, just to make
just the protection, like against Forest, you kind of like with Wolves though. You can play that team and you can play that risky game, but as soon as with Wolves, it didn't work. That's where you just need to change it and be like, right, okay, Mount drop deeper, or Bruno drop a bit deeper. Let's just protect it for a bit. Let them run themselves into a ground, and then go and counter them.
Yeah,
but he doesn't do it. He just I feel like Ten Hag's decisions are just too slow. He leaves it miles too late before he decides, I need to change this. It's like, look, it's not working. You're giving teams too many chances.
Definitely.
So
that needs to change, and change quickly, because it was an improvement, but it doesn't help if you sabotage yourself playing players in the wrong places. I thought Mason Mount had an all right game, to be fair.
Mason Mount is becoming a bit of a scapegoat. Mason Mount has not played poorly at all this season.
Which I didn't understand, because I only caught up on the game like the day after the fact. So on Twitter, I saw, get Mason Mount out, he's rubbish. I watched the game, especially in the first half. I was like, he's at the core of every good attacking thing United did.
Yeah, he is that deep runner. But because they're just looking for a reason to moan. This is you're not a United fan, so you won't know. But I've known over the last decade that scapegoats is the word for United. They will always look for someone to fire shots at.
Yeah,
for no reason. Definitely. Simple as that. So,
and it's an easy target, I guess.
The world we live in, because he's a new signing, and they think, he's come in and he's changed everything, and he's like, he hasn't. This is how Ten Hag wants to play, and this white style of play will work. But the players need to learn to do the basics first.
I mean, I'd be tempted to drop Garnacho, put Rashford on the left, put McTominay on, and then if you go on for an actual striker, I mean, it's it can't be worse than having Rashford striker Garnacho left.
Put Bruno up there.
Put Mount as a false 9 if you need to. As a
Mount
temporary thing.
Yeah, put Mount or Bruno as a false 9. He's going to come. They're going to come deep anyway, and then you play your wingers in.
Yeah, I mean, you're screwed either way, so you might as well try something which gets Rashford in his best position and more midfield security.
Let Rashford push, because put it this way, Garnacho's not at the point of his career where he's going to start pushing fullbacks back because he's got the ball. Yeah. Rashford will.